Hey everybody, welcome to the channel or welcome back to the channel. Hey, in today's video, I want to talk about how I get around the fact that I've got 17 different e-ink devices and I take notes on every single one of them. I do have my core devices that I keep and that I take to work or church or whatever I do on a regular basis, and that's the Note Air 5C. Really, sometimes I interchange that with any BOOX device because they sync up so well. The SUPERNOTE Manta, and then the Remarkable Paper Pro. And then I mentioned in a previous video that I just published today, or yesterday, whenever it was, that I have also incorporated the iFlyTek AI Note 2 because the AI note-taking capability where you can record, transcribe, and then summarize your meetings. So I have included that as well. So those are the core main devices that I use, but I also have all the other devices that I use from 6 different platforms. So there's BOOX, SUPERNOTE, VIWOODS, Remarkable, Kindle, and iFlyTek. So there's 6 different ecosystems that I'm taking notes in. So you can imagine it is a nightmare to keep your notes organized. So what I've tried to do in the past, and I've really failed at it miserably, is, at one point I decided that I would just create folders on each one of the devices, and that at the end of the day I would, whatever device I was using for that particular day, I would sync that up, or I'd send that over to the other devices as a PDF. And boy, was that tedious. That was a lot of work to get done, and not always the easiest thing to get done depending on what platform you're talking about. So the other thing that I tried to do was, I love to create these large hyperlinked PDF notebooks, and I still do use those, even though what I'm about to tell you of how I was trying to use those things didn't work well for me. I still do use those because, hey, I designed them. They look how I want them to look. They operate like I want them to operate. And it's almost like a little mini app that I've built on whatever device. And they work on virtually every device with some exceptions on the Kindle. Some of the hyperlinks on Kindles, they have to be text on the Kindle. You can't have an icon or a picture as a link on the Kindle. At least that's the way it's been. Maybe they'll change that. So I would try to take those hyperlinked PDF files, and I would just try to, at the end of the day, I would, whatever device I was working on, I would be working on the latest copy of that. And then I would take that single file and then move it over to the other device ecosystems. Also a pain in the rear, especially with one of my favorite devices is the BOOX. And, I could bring it into BOOX into Neo Reader, which is their PDF reader, and everything would be fine. It would retain the hyperlinks. Everything would be great when I would try to export it. Works perfectly. But that's not what I wanted to use. I wanted to use the Notes app. So I would always bring in my PDF notebooks into the Notes app so that I've got all the features and the capabilities of that. The only downside is that when you try to export it as a PDF file, you lose all the links. So, and I had various other issues with doing that as well. So that didn't work as well. So then I started looking at services like Obsidian. A lot of people use Obsidian very effectively. I did subscribe. I, watched all the YouTube videos to see how it could work, and it just did not work for me and what I was trying to do. It created more friction for me. Maybe I wasn't using it right. I don't know, but it created a lot of friction for me and a lot of anxiety. So I stopped doing that. The next thing that I started to do was like, well, why don't I just have a folder on my OneDrive that at the end of every day, I would take the files, or I would take the notes files, I would export them to PDF and put them into that folder so that I've always got access to them from virtually any device. All devices that I own, with the exception of the Kindle, have the ability to go in and, read those files and pick them up. The only downside to that is that I didn't know what was inside of all those files. So, I may have a work meeting with my boss from, June 2nd, and I really don't know what was contained in that note. So that really didn't work with me as well. So I realized I had to change the way that I was thinking about my devices. So I saw my e-ink devices as they had to be the final container for all my notes. This, whatever device it happened to be, that had to be my container for all my notes so that I could reference everything from here and have access to all my notes at any time. And I had to change my thought process on that and be willing to let go of that. Whatever device I'm using at the time is not going to have all my notes on it. So, what did I settle on, and what have I been using for at least the last half of this year, 6 or 7 months? That's OneNote. So, we use that at work. We're very heavily invested in the Microsoft Office 365 environment with all that comes with that. So, OneNote is part of that, and I'm a heavy OneNote user as well. And after trying all these other solutions, I got to thinking about, well, how do I make OneNote work for all these various devices that I've got? And I came up with a pretty good system, so I'm going to share that with you today. So some devices have, like for example, Books. When you have a third-party app store on there, on some devices, not every one, but like Books, for example, I can take my note and I can share or export it. As you can see in this particular notes file, it's just a table of contents that I've been playing around with as well. But I can go in here and I can hit share. I can choose what pages I want to share, click on share. And then how do I want to share it? I can do it either as a vector or a bitmap PDF. I always do it just as a bitmap. And then I can share it, exporting. And then OneNote is one of the options that I can choose here. It is in my list, honest, somewhere. Right here. Here's OneNote. So I can share it to OneNote, and it's going to go into my quick notes. So if I go into OneNote here, you'll see in my quick notes that I will have this file. I didn't take the time to name it anything, but you'll see this file called Books. You can see this file here. And then if you go back to the desktop version of OneNote, you can see that it is in my quick notes. I can click on it here. It's an untitled page, but here's the PDF document. I can insert it as a printout, and it's going to pop up. It's going to be really big, but I can, pinch to zoom on this and make it, more readable for whatever device that I'm happen to be looking at it on. And then I would need to name this using my naming convention, like 2025 1206 or whatever that happens to be, and then drag it over to the correct folder. On SUPERNOTE, since you don't have the Play Store and you can't, you don't have the share functions that are available through the Google Play Store integration, I do use the partner app. So here's the same file that I've got on there, and I literally just go in here and just say export, and then I'll export it as a PDF, export, and then I'll choose OneNote as my destination. In this, it allows me to check which folder I want it to go to. It's going to go to Quick Notes by default, but there it is. It's gone. For Remarkable, it's pretty much the same thing, just going into the partner app. And for example, I don't have that table of contents in here, but if I were to, want to share this one, I could do that. Hit the share icon. I could choose OneNote. I could let it go to Quick Notes, or I could choose the folder I want it to go to, and that is a way as well. So VIWOODS is very similar to Books in that it has the Google Play Store installed, and I can actually install OneNote on here. So I can literally come over here and choose to share. I'll do it as a PDF file. I'll choose third-party apps, and OneNote is in my list there. And this is going to go into, as you can see, it just popped up there. I didn't name the file before I exported it, so I just left it whatever it was. Typically, I would, if I have the option to name it during the export process, I do to save time later, so I'll just know how to file that. For the Kindle Scribe, I use a much more, convoluted process in that I go into the share. I choose if I want to share the current page or the entire notebook. I'm just going to do the current page here. And then my options are to share via email, so I typically send it to my email, and then just pick it up from my email on my laptop and go ahead and save that into OneNote. Now you may be saying or thinking to yourself, gosh, David, that doesn't sound much easier than what you described in your other processes either. There are some steps that you have to go to depending on the device. And the devices that I use the most, it's very simple to do it, and that's Books, SUPERNOTE, Remarkable. VIWOODS is also very easy. It really gets complicated when you get it. I didn't even show the IFLYTEK, but the IFLYTEK is very similar to the Kindle that you want to export it via email. So the Kindle and the iFlyWoods are the most, cumbersome of the processes. They're also the two that I use the least for handwritten notes, at least now. I did mention that I'm going to begin using the iFlyTek a little bit more. But the advantage to doing this is that, as I said before, we have OneNote at work. So my company laptop is locked down in what I can install on there. I can only have on there what they install from my IT department, and OneNote is part of what they install. So having those notes available on my laptop is invaluable to me. So just this week, a couple of times, as a matter of fact, once even Thursday, a couple days ago, I had one of my team members that work with me came to me and was asking me the name of who we talked to about on a particular project that he needed to reach back out to him, and he couldn't remember what the name was. So I simply walked over to my laptop, got on OneNote, and looked up a keyword. It really didn't matter because OneNote allows you to do handwriting search in your PDF files, and I was able to go just key in that project name, and it brought up a list of notes that we had on that. Found the one that we were looking for, had the name in my notes, and it was just incredibly easy to find that. So those couple of benefits, and the fact that I've got them all in one place. Most of my devices, I can go back and reference that on BOOX. I've got OneNote, so I can just go look up those notes at any time. Remarkable. I could go and import one in, but it's not as easy to do. On the iPad, I could find it. VIWOODS, I can go in and find it. Just very few devices that I use on a regular basis that I can't access those files, but I do have them on my other devices as well. So really, I just wanted to make this video because I have had people reach out in the comments and ask me, gosh, with so many devices, how are you keeping them in sync? And some of the devices don't even have sync, like the VIWOODS. You can't sync between the two, and really don't have a partner app available. And Kindle certainly makes it very difficult to do any kind of sharing as well. The rest of them have some kind of a partner app where you can do that. But really wanted to share what my workflow is on that and how I relieved my anxiety, so to speak. So now I'm free to take whatever device I want to work. I'm not worried about that device being the single container or that it has to contain every single note I've ever written, which was my mentality before. Now I'm just trusting that I've got it on OneNote. Heck, I can access OneNote on my phone, my iPad, my laptop, wherever I need to do, even on the web if I wanted to do that. So this was really a good solution for me. Hopefully, maybe it'll help you if you're struggling with some of the same things that I am. If you have other ways that you do organization and you do note storage and access at a later date, I would love to hear those ideas. Maybe there's something better than what I'm doing. I'm not going to say that I've got the best way out there. As you saw, all the trial and error that I had along the way before I arrived at what I'm at. There may be something that you bring up in the comments that's going to completely evolve my thinking and make me go, gosh, why didn't I think of that? Or great idea. And I'd really love to hear that. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, like it, consider subscribing to the channel. Really would appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next video.